Welcome to this evening's Personnel Committee meeting. Today is Monday, March 31st. Voting members here this evening are, to my left, Oneida Aquino, Vice Chair. To my right, Councilor Roger Toomey and Councilor Modesto Maldonado, and I am your Chair, Sandy Elizabeth Almonte. Could we please stand for a moment of silence? In remembrance of the firefighters that lost their lives during the fire this week, and also the anniversary of Jennifer, who was Nelson Ortiz's daughter. Her 14th anniversary was also this month, so I'd like to take a moment of silence.
One thing I'd like to mention too is
Yes.
I can never recall saying anything about Charles Body's father passing away.
And Charles Body's father also passed away. Thank you. Councilor Maldonado, pledge allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilors, I'm looking for a motion to accept the minutes of our last meeting that was on, where do I have these?
So move.
Of March 17th.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. First item of business, which would be 8414, the status of contract for City Attorney Charles Body. Do we have anyone here to represent on behalf of the mayor?
I
Do we
believe,
have a recommendation from the committee?
no, I believe that, that in my discussion with the mayor, what we need to do is to hire somebody from the outside, another attorney from the outside,
Okay,
to help us look at the contract. I discussed that with Mayor Rivera, and we're gonna be looking for legal help in reviewing the contract and then determining whether we should rewrite the contract and how to proceed with the position of the city attorney.
okay.
Adam,
Yes, Councilor Toomey?
I have something to say afterwards, after everybody's had to say, okay?
I'm finished with that.
All set? Councilor Toomey? Councilor Lee?
Okay. When this document came before us at the city council level, I had some questions regarding who initiates contracts. And if you recall, I asked Chief of Staff Lisa Teresi if she knew how they were created, and she said she didn't, okay? Now, and after rereading the letter that was sent down from the mayor's office issuing a non-renewal notice to the contract, for the city attorney, I had a question about the term city, as to whether it referred to the legislative body or the executive body. So I decided to look into the charter, and I found in section 3.6A and C part of the answer I was looking for. I also checked the Lawrence Municipal Code, sections 2.2.0.010 under the city attorney, section A, and section 3.10 of the general powers. Now, what I've done is I make copies of what these are. I'd like you to.
Thank you.
Okay, now, going through, the following is what I found during my investigation. If you read in the city charter, section 3.6, A and C, the A spells out the city council shall elect a city clerk, a city attorney, which is what we're referencing here tonight. And under C, it spells out the responsibilities of the city attorney. I think we're rather all familiar with that after poking through the charter. Then in the Lawrence Municipal Code, under section 2.2.0.010, under city attorney, section A, I'll read it. It says appointment. That shall be appointed by the city council in accordance with section 3.6C of the charter, a city attorney. Appointment of the city attorney shall be for a fixed term, which may be renewed or extended without limitation pursuant to an employment contract, which shall be entered into between the city and the city attorney at the time of the appointment. and which shall also set the compensation to be paid to the city attorney and such other specific terms and conditions of employment as may be required by the city council. And then under section 3.10 of the general powers, it states, except as otherwise provided by law or by the charter, all powers of the city shall be vested in the city council, which shall provide for their exercise and for the performance of all duties and obligations imposed on the city by law. And then it should be further noted that although the provisions of section 6.5, the Lawrence City Charter vests the mayor with the power and appointment over several administrative officials and department heads, the position of city attorney is specifically excluded therefrom. So I'm basing my judgment on these elements here. So, based upon the foregoing, the purposes of the appointment of the city attorney and the entering of an employment contract, the authority falls within the exclusive providence of the city council, acting for and on behalf of the city. The mayor has no standing to exercise any authority over the same. So the applicable provisions of the city charter and city ordinances vest the city council with the sole and exclusive authority to conduct all respective duties and responsibilities relative to the employment of the city attorney, including those tasks attendant to the termination of the contract of employment for any reason, as well as further negotiations in terms of submission and final approval by the city council. So, the only governmental entity authorized to issue or present a notice of non-renewal for the purpose of the contract of employment with the city attorney is the city council, and any such notice presented or issued by the executive body without authority from the city council to do so has no legal force or effect. So in effect, the letter that came down from the mayor suggesting the non-renewal is null and void. It's illegal. It doesn't mean anything. And
yes.
even the vote that the council took at our level to approve it is non-existent either, because you're voting on something that was illegal to begin with.
The reason why we took a vote at the city council level not to renew the contract was because we were questioning whether the mayor had the authority or not.
And according to this, he doesn't.
Exactly. So, in essence, we exercise our power by not renewing the contract, the city council. Okay,
No, say that again?
when we took a vote at the city council level 2 weeks ago, we actually exercised our power as given to us by this,
How?
by voting not to renew the contract.
No,
We didn't vote in supporting the letter of the mayor.
Well, that's what
No.
came down to us.
No. We voted, we took a totally separate decision of not extending or renewing the contract as a separate issue from what the mayor did. I agree with you that the mayor has no power in sending the letter to the attorney. He didn't have the power.
No, he didn't. And so no letter has been sent to the attorney about it from us.
Yes, he did.
When?
When we took the approval
Did we send a letter to him?
at the city council, yes.
We sent him a letter from the city council?
It was supposed to be
stating-
sent. I need to make sure that it was.
Who would send it?
Bill Maloney will do that.
Has he sent it yet?
I would have to ask him. But again, I think that at the city council level, knowing or doubting whether the mayor had the power to do what he did, we took a totally separate vote not to renew the contract. And a letter was supposed to go out to the attorney notifying him of that.
That
As a
wasn't,
matter of fact, we also.
that wasn't stated at the council level.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
If you recall,
I disagree with that. It was not.
okay, we will need, tomorrow, we can probably discuss it at the city council level as to what was it totally that we approved. But if you recall, we also agreed that we were going to get legal counsel from the outside, and that we were going to involve the mayor, legal counsel, and the personnel committee to review the contract. Do you recall that?
Not so much reviewing the contract. From what I'm listening to and what you're telling me, the reason that you're saying the council voted at the way they did, 8-0, about the renewal of the contract, non-renewal of the contract, was because we questioned whether or not the mayor had the authority to do it?
We had doubt that the mayor had the authority to do it, okay? So in order to avoid the contract from getting extended, if you recall the conversation that Councilor Bernard spoke about, we needed to make that decision in order to avoid going beyond the 90 days.
That's the reason that letter was sent.
No. That's the reason why we took the vote. We took the vote because we questioned whether the mayor had the authority to send the letter or not. Okay, so we took the vote as a separate from the
I
letter.
don't recall that.
You don't recall that? Well, that's something that
I do not,
I wish that, obviously, we're not going to have an answer until tomorrow.
I do not recall us talking
When the
about that.
Secretary Maloney will be here, so we can address that.
We need to review the conditions of what that motion was that we took.
I think so.
That is what it comes down to.
So what did we do with this item tonight?
Well, it's,
I mean, you know, to me, that letter came down to the council, and the council ordinarily, even on a point of communication, comes down from, when the point of communication comes down from the mayor's office, we
Yes.
just don't discuss it or vote on it at that point. It's usually just talked about here, and then it's dismissed, either it's tabled or it's withdrawn, one or the other. And if this thing was forwarded to personnel,
well, I don't think it was forwarded to the personnel, it was not forwarded to the personnel committee at that point, because we were concerned that if we didn't take any action, that we were going to miss the deadline of the 90 days,
Well, the
and then the contract will automatically renew.
the action was supposed to have been the letter coming down from the mayor, stating that the city was allowing, taking its option of non-renewal. That's the way the letter read.
If you, and again, I think there's a matter of recollection as to what was discussed. But my recollection was that because we were not certain whether the mayor had the authority to send the letter to the attorney, that we were going to take a separate vote, not renewing the contract, in order to avoid missing the deadline of the 90 days. Because if we miss the deadline of the 90 days, automatically the contract will be renewed without any action from us or
Right.
the executive power.
Right.
So we took the vote not to renew the contract, okay, and the vote was not in support of the letter of the mayor. The vote was as a separate vote in order, because we were questioning, and again, we were questioning whether the mayor had the authority to do it or not. And again, I think that can be clarified tomorrow, because we have different recollections of what actually was discussed.
Yes, we do.
Okay?
We
Do
do
you, do any of you remember exactly what?
Well, it was kind of my recollection that we were going to review his contract, and that we wanted to make sure that the 90 days didn't come through, and that would be,
But,
that the contract would be extended again for another, 5 years?
no. If you recall, we voted not to renew the contract. We voted that.
Okay.
There was a motion not to renew the contract, and that, in addition, we were going to create a committee
That is correct.
that was composed of the personnel, an attorney from outside of the city
That was-
government, and the mayor's office.
That was my recommendation, correct?
Yes, okay? So basically, that's what we voted on. Not to renew the contract and create a committee that was going to review the contract and then make a recommendation.
Correct.
And again,
Whatever come
the
before.
problem here is that we have different recollection, because you had a different recollection
Because
than I did, and
remember, because from my perspective, what it was that, that I had said, that one body couldn't make up that decision as to someone's contract, because we needed other different departments there. It's just not one body that could basically, because we have different departments that would come in to form that contract, and, like Budget and Finance would have to be there to make sure that we're giving them the right steps to move along, what the terms and conditions of his contract were gonna be.
I think the composition was very clearly defined.
But the thing re-
Very clearly
but the
defined.
thing revolves around the fact that the letter that came down from the mayor was illegal.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't,
Yes.
doesn't bear anything at all,
Yes.
okay? And yet, we voted based on that letter.
No, we didn't
No.
vote based on the letter.
We voted to not renew the contract based on the letter that was sent down.
If we had not known of the letter,
Right?
and we had not known that if we didn't act it upon, that we didn't make a decision,
Which has happened a number of
we
times.
were going to miss the deadline.
Which has happened a number of times in the past. I mean, he was hired in 2003. Okay, and there's been two 5-year periods,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. So, again, the action of the city council was to prevent the contract of the city attorney from renewing automatically. That was the action that the city council took.
Then why was it forwarded to personnel?
Why was it forwarded to personnel? Because personnel is responsible for reviewing the contract if we are going to renew the contract.
Right? Because we do have authority over the,
Of course,
over the city
of course we do.
attorney.
Yes, we do.
So what
Exactly.
what you're telling me is that and you said the city attorney was notified about this?
My understanding is that a letter was going to go out to the city attorney on the decision of the city council,
Not from the city council.
from the city council, of course,
You said on the,
on the decision that the city
on the
council took.
decision that the city council took, but is it from the city council? That's what I'm
Of
saying.
course, of course.
So I'd like to see that letter that the
Well, we
attorney
will need
got.
to find out tomorrow.
So what do we do with this? Table it?
Huh?
What do
Yes, we will need to table this, and we will need to ask the clerk as to whether that letter went out to the city attorney on the decision that the city council took.
Would you
Okay,
like to make a
and
motion,
not-
Roger?
And not a copy of the letter that was sent to us from the mayor?
No, no.
Okay, so okay, well anyways, my purpose in doing all of this was to question who was the city itemized in this letter that came down? Who is the city? We are the city.
Well, in this case, the
We
city
are the
council.
city. It's the council.
I mean, this is very specific, that the city council has the authority. That's very specific.
Okay.
So tomorrow, we can ascertain
Is it going to be on the agenda
with
for
the
tomorrow?
clerk. Huh?
It's not going to, we table it at this level, it's not going to be on the agenda for tomorrow.
No, I can bring it up. I can bring it, if we table it at this level, I can bring it up from committee.
How? Because we're supposed to, have 48-hour notice? Not supposed to really come up until the 15th of the month.
No, I don't think we
we
have
use
to
on the
wait.
web.
I don't have to.
Yeah.
This is an item that was already sent to the personnel committee.
All of them are sent to the Personnel Committee. All of them are sent to the Personnel Committee.
Yes.
And we do something with them, either we vote them up or down, okay?
We
And
can
they
check-
go- Then they go forward as a committee report to the full council.
I think we can check with the clerk as to whether we can discuss it at the city council level, or we can simply get information, just as a matter of information, ask the city clerk as to whether the letter went out or not.
Of course, we're going to table it at this level, though, right?
I'm sorry?
We're going to table it at this level?
Yes, we can table it at this level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, then I do make a...
I mean, there's nothing that we can do right now because we lack information. And obviously, we have three people here, and we have a different recollection.
We didn't ask
We
the
have
vice-
we have a totally different recollection of what,
We didn't
of
ask the
what
vice-
action was
We
taken.
didn't ask the vice chair what her thoughts.
What is your recollection?
What I remember was that they sent the letter, so we didn't want the contract to be automatic renewal.
Right.
So in order for us to stop that, we have to send a letter, and we agreed that we were gonna be part of it.
Correct.
They sent it down here, because we were gonna get the contract, and we were gonna revise it.
Okay, do you recall ever taking action on not renewing the contract?
Yes.
Okay, you recall that?
Yes.
Okay.
Say it again?
And
Take
the
a what?
recommendation was to form a committee that was going to be able to review, not just,
contract?
not just
Yes.
us
Not
as
just
part of
us,
the
but
committee, but
other
other
people.
An attorney and
Outside
the
attorney,
mayor's
yes.
office.
that would help to solidify everything so that we're not going back and forth or in violation of any of the ordinances or charters.
But I think that tomorrow, if you make the motion, I
We'd like
think
to make a
tomorrow we can, as a matter of information, get some feedback from the clerk.
He has the minutes and he has the tape too, so he knows exactly what went on. during
Exactly.
that. So I'll make a motion to table this level.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is document number 8514, the appointment to the Airport Commission of William Pedrick for a 3-year term. You can please come up to the podium. Welcome. Your name and address for the record, please. Your name and address for the record, please. Thank you for being here with us this evening. I will open up questions to the, any questions from the committee for our appointee?
Well, William, I don't have
Counselor Maldonado?
the pleasure of knowing you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Hold on one second, I think that,
A lifetime resident of the city of Lawrence. Born in Lawrence, I went to school in Lawrence, graduated from Lawrence High School. Lawrence High School, I went into the United States Army, I spent 6 years in the Army. Got to the rank of Staff Sergeant. I was discharged in 1959. I came out. I was a detective in the Detective Division. I'm retired now from the police department. I did serve on the committee at the airport for approximately 3 years, and my renewal application, when I put it in, was never finalized for the previous mayor left. And I'm very familiar with the operation of the airport, being up there. I spent many, many days up at the airport before, during my lifetime in Lawrence. It was one of my places I learned to go, was there all the time. And I feel like I'd like to be back onto the commission, that I would benefit that commission by being on it. I feel I would. I was also a deputy sheriff for the Essex County for 10 years. I was a constable for the city of Lawrence for 3 years. I served papers for the city of Lawrence, civil papers, without a charge to the city. Along with my partner, Victor Morales, we worked together on that, under Mayor Sullivan. And that's...
did you mention that you were on the board for 3 years before?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a renewal of your,
No,
no?
he was on, I'm sorry, he was on the commission from January of 9 through September of 2013, and would like to continue his service. He will be filling Mr. Latorre's term, which would
okay,
expire on July 15th
Right.
of 2015.
Right.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
So, yeah, he would just be replacing Mr. Latorre. Any other questions? Counselor Toomey?
The only question I have is Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, Michael Millard, 90 South Bowden Street, Lawrence, Airport Manager.
Thank you.
Was Mr. Latorre the only gentleman that had the pilot's license?
No, actually, the
You do-
council
you-
approved
you do
another.
need- You do need someone in that.
We do, and we have a gentleman from your district David Abate, who the council appointed last September, I believe, who was a licensed pilot, so he has the credentials.
That was my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any further questions.
All set? Any other questions? Recommendation from the committee?
I make the motion that we send this appointment to the full city council with a favorable recommendation.
Second?
Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Congratulations, well, you having a positive recommendation from our committee here, and I'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, for the affirmation of the full city council. Thank you. Sorry.
Is this going to be in tomorrow's committee reports?
Oh, actually, no, it would
No,
be
it
in
would be
2
the
weeks, I'm
following,
sorry.
in 2 weeks.
So, yeah, it would be in our following city council meeting, which would be 2 weeks from tomorrow,
Be the 15th,
the 15th,
7 o'clock, at 7 o'clock.
at 7 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to table document 8614 and 8714.
Motion been made?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Document 8814, which is the John Isenzi as Permanent Director of Department of Public Works. Mr. Isenzi? Welcome, and thank you once again for coming in front of our Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Isenzi, 1 Nicky Street.
Thank you for your service and hard work and dedication to our city. I will open up any questions or comments that the committee may have. I know that we've hashed and rehashed, and hopefully today we shall close and keep it going. And let you do the wonderful work that you do. But let's see where this goes tonight.
I
Tony?
really don't have any questions of John. I've known John since he's been appointed as the interim, and all I can do is placate him with accolades, because John is a very conscientious and very honest and very dedicated civil servant, and I would most definitely recommend him very highly for this position. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Maldonado?
Yes, John, what is your current salary?
It's 95.
95. Is that what the mayor recommending now?
I have no idea what he's
You have
recommending.
no idea what he's recommending?
I have no idea.
You have someone here from the
Lisa,
Mayor's Department? Name and address for the record, please.
Lisa Teresi, 48 Columbia Park, Haverhill, Massachusetts. At this time, we keep the director's salary as is until while we're in budget negotiations, and we'd evaluate that for FY15. We're in process of going through department budgets with each department head, and that would definitely be a consideration we'd like to look into if it's possible.
Okay. Is Mr. Isensi getting any stipend? I noticed that as in 3 separate occasions, there were increases and there were stipend included. Is this position including any stipend besides $95,000?
It does not.
It does not include any stipend.
No, I work at the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District as well as a board member there that provides a $3,600 a year.
Was that the time when you would receive a stipend of $5,000?
There was,
Okay.
as the city tree warden. I also received a stipend of 10 grand when I was a supervisor to run the garages.
Okay.
And none of those are in play.
There are questions that I would like to ask John, but I would like to reserve those questions for the full council, because I think they are very important questions, and I'd rather leave those for the full council.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm going to reserve those questions.
thank you. Councilor Aquino?
Hi, John.
Hi, Counselor.
Hi again. I have a couple of questions. I know you personally, and I think you're doing a great job, but I still have more questions, because this is a very important position for us. How long do you plan to stay with the city?
Well, I'm looking at, like to get a 2-year contract.
Okay. So are you planning to retire in 2 years?
I will be eligible to. If things look favorable, I may stay longer, but at that time, I'll have 38 years here. And it may be time to take a fresh look.
How many people are you supervise currently?
Currently,
Yes,
somewhere in the neighborhood of about 115.
150. That was the same amount, like, that was the same number from last year?
We've had reductions. The parking garages have seen a reduction in the workforce. Their estimated income hasn't met what it was anticipated to meet, resulting in some layoffs for those folks.
All right, that means that we had layoffs, right?
We have had layoffs.
Did you recommend those layoffs?
Well, actually, we had to make those layoffs, or we were going to be in a deficit in that division.
Did you recommend it?
We do,
You did?
yes.
Based on what?
We wouldn't be able to afford to keep the employees that we had currently.
Okay, did you rehire any, and you don't have any new positions?
No, we haven't gone above that, the number that we originally had.
So how many people did you?
We had originally 21 people.
Okay. 29. And how many layoffs from
20
your department?
We, from the entire department?
Yes.
I believe we lost 6.
You lost 6.
in
And
the
you
pa- in the
rehired?
parking.
Anybody rehired?
In the entire department or just the parking
The
division?
entire department?
We have had some employees come back, correct.
How many?
We had 5 vacancies, and they've refilled those.
How many, I'm sorry?
We had 5 vacancies, 4 truck drivers, and a special HMEO that had retired. Last year, this council had approved 4 additional truck drivers to be hired.
Okay. Do you evaluate your employees? How do you evaluate your employees?
Well, we look at their general attendance, their effort when they're out and about, their willingness to cooperate with the management staff, and basically their overall ability to perform the tasks that they're hired for.
Okay. Do you have those evaluations on writing?
No, generally not.
Okay. But you recommend the mayor based on your evaluations, the layoffs?
Correct. On some layoffs, if they don't have the qualifications that they were essentially hired for, then no, we can't sustain them beyond a temporary position.
Okay. Can you mention one of those qualifications that they were?
Well, if you hire a truck driver or someone to be a truck driver, if they don't have the proper licensing, that becomes an issue. Generally, they'll give you the initial 90 days to obtain such certificate. It's generally an amount of time that you should be able to obtain that.
Did any of those people have the 90 days to get the license?
Some folks had been there for well over a year and had not made any attempt at all.
Okay. That was something that you talked to them before laying them off, right?
It's, they all know that they were
So they
hired.
were more than 90 days?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have anybody that is not qualified for the job currently?
Currently, no.
Okay, so everybody have their own, like the
Everybody's been
licenses, they don't need the 90 days?
No, they were, one that was initially hired with a stipulation that he needed to obtain that. He has done so.
Okay. Oh, I have another comment. Based on a comment that I read in the newspaper, you were present when the former mayor fired somebody because X reason. What was your reaction to it?
It's unsettling to see that happen. Someone had gone up and essentially threw himself on the sword for his employees. I don't think he intended to have the hiring authority take him up on that, and it was quite shocking to see that happen.
So what was your reaction to the mayor?
There's not much you can say to the hiring
Yes,
authority.
there is. That's what we hear.
He made it pretty clear what he wanted.
So that means, and I want to make sure that I understand, that means that the former mayor, that happened with the former mayor. What happened if it's with this mayor? Will you react the same
I
way?
have disagreed with the former mayor in the past, and gotten a severe reprimand and taken it and held my ground on that. And suffered the repercussions for it. But I did hold my ground on things that I knew were not right. That
For
was
example?
the police station stairs. One day, I got and I don't know how deeply you want to delve into this, but I got an estimate on my desk, an unsolicited estimate for repair of the stairs in a fashion that would have rendered those stairs illegal based on construction standards. We went out and got a proper estimate, got them repaired correctly, and I had my head handed to me for that. And I had it happen to me in front of a couple of attorneys who I happened to be in a discussion with about bettering the city.
My opinion of this is that that's the issue that I have. How people react when that's what we hear. We never know about any of this. I knew that something happened with the engineer which you supervise and the streets because we have a problem. You came here and you say one thing, or maybe you didn't say all the stuff the newspaper posted the next day. And that, I don't like that. If you're here and we can speak to you, and we are here to support our directors, like our department's head, and we never heard anything from you about that issue. I've never heard anything about all the stuff. We always get information on the newspaper that we as a city councilor never get to have. And I don't think that is right. I think there's more stuff that we can help. I'm not asking all these questions because I don't like you. You know how I like you, right? We always been working for the city the way we should. I'm not saying anything about your work, how you work.
Correct,
And I want people to be clear on that. I don't want them to think that I'm trying to go over you and say things bad about you. You are a great person. I think you are good for the job. But the way we had find out that things were outside, it's not right for me.
Well, I believe I may have alluded to roadwork issues in front of this council on several occasions when I was publicly asked to pick certain streets to be repaired. And I alluded to the fact that the mayor is making the call on the streets and the roadwork that's being done. And I've done so in this forum. I think I've been very forthright about everything we do within that department. Well, I can't control what the newspaper prints. A lot
Well,
of
you were in the
times,
picture, it's not, like you were the day before you were here. And we didn't hear that from you. We read it on the newspaper. It was the next day, and I'm not saying you guys are the ones that know about the streets. I heard that Boston at this time had like 5,000 more holes. Haverhill had the same problem. It's not about that, it's the process that it took. You never knew about this? We find out when you guys came here. How can that happen? You are the acting director, you should know about this, and you should inform us that this is going on.
well,
We shouldn't get the information when we read it on the newspaper. That's my concern is.
I'm not sure exactly what part I didn't maybe divulge in its entirety, but I was fairly clear that I was excused from road work to a great extent.
I'm all set.
No further questions? Thank you. At this moment, after reviewing the documents and everything sent down, this is for the position of John Sensi being able to be here for the next 2 years. I do know that he will probably be, you know, leaving our city, which it's gonna leave us in dire needs of someone of his expertise and someone of his caliber. I would love to make a recommendation that we not only hire him as our permanent director for his years of service and everything that he has done and who he is and what he's done for our city, but also that we need to start looking to hire an agency or hire someone to look outside the city to be able to find someone that has even a comparison to John Sensi's capability to function the way that he has here in the city of Lawrence and what he's done, and everything that he's done to be able to be at this position. I'm not sure if Mr. Bonet would like to come up and say, are we looking for, do we have anybody looking outside source to see what's going to happen in the event that we have to replace Mr. Sensi? What's been happening with that? Do we have a search committee?
Not at this time, because
Name and address for the record,
Frank
please.
Bonet, Personnel
Thank
Director,
you.
33 Dartmouth Street. Not at this moment, because, I mean, John is coming before you to be appointed, and it's,
Correct.
the unknown is what's the timeframe that John is here or retires. But one thing that we are doing is we're preparing our new younger leaders, developing them to become the next directors, the next futures. And we have partnered with Cambridge College to do a leadership initiative to start preparing our younger leaders, our managers, so that way they can step in as soon as the next director leaves. So that way we won't be in a lull of time. So that is ongoing right now. As for headhunting, I usually, once we know if individual is going to leave, we do our best to go out there and search. We've been fortunate enough to have John in the wings from our previous DPW director waiting, and he's before you. And I just want to say not that I want to answer for John, but you asked about the personnel evaluations. And so I know you have it on the agenda, the personnel here. That is something that the Personnel Department, along with the city attorney, the labor city attorney, is working with the unions, a negotiable item about conducting performance evaluations in writing. So when he answered that he doesn't have it, it's because he's not allowed to do so. It would be a violation of work conditions for the union itself. So, but he does make sure that the timeliness and the completeness of tasks is done. I usually see those written warnings, or verbal and written warnings, in my office for filing in the personnel record. So he does that.
Thank you for that clarification. Councilor Maldonado?
Yes. Before you leave, on either Lisa or you may have the answer. Is Mr. Sensi being offered a 2-year contract or a permanent hiring regardless of the time that he's going to choose to remain?
No, this is a non-union position. I believe it's on the grade 9. Has a salary range of 95 to 120. It doesn't have a contract associated with it. So his salary could fall anywhere between, did I just say 95? 95 to 120.
Yes.
There is some written language on the compensation plan off the top of my head. Usually it's for new hires entering. In this matter, I think that I would have to check with our city attorney if we consider John as a new hire into the position. He's not a new hire employee because he's been here for quite some time.
Right.
But it's a new position, and it would be a viable and fair conversation to have as to, and with the mayor, as to, as Lisa had briefed you earlier, remains at 95 going forward until any discussions the new budget may have any monetary that may increase that along that salary range. But that's a conversation we haven't had, we haven't thought about. I'm just answering a question that you just asked.
Okay, so basically, there's no time limit, in spite of the fact that Mr. Sensi said that he may look to retirement in 2 years. There's no limit as to when he will remain.
No.
That would be his choice.
Correct, right. It's not a contract that you, 2-3 year
Yes,
contract,
okay.
and then you have to renew it, no.
Okay, good.
All questions?
I have another question. John, you mentioned that what's the total number of personnel that you have right now? You said 21?
No, it's
Or you
somewhere
had?
around, no, it's somewhere around 115.
I'm sorry, 15.
115.
115, okay. You mentioned something about 21, what was the 21 for?
Original. 21 or 29?
No, 21, it was in the parking division.
In the parking division?
Correct.
Okay, and there were 6 layoff
Correct.
on that, okay. And that, I mean, I understood the reason why the budget was being overspent. There were too many employees in that department and people were laid off.
Correct.
Okay, so the total number of personnel that you have under your supervision is 100 and what?
115.
115. Okay. Are you able to, do you have the information as to what numbers are in the different areas of supervision that you have? Do you have that information?
Roughly, if you're looking at the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund, it's probably 45 there.
Okay, so water and sewer, how many?
It's probably 45 in there.
45?
Sure.
Okay. The other areas?
We're gonna go to building and facilities, there's about probably 8 or 9 there.
I'm sorry?
8 or 9
8 or 9?
in building and facilities. The parking division obviously has the 15.
Which one is that?
Parking division,
Parking, 15?
correct. And then if we go into DPW, there's probably a total of maybe 20 in there,
20?
between streets, parks, and municipal garage.
Can you break down those DPW 20? Can you break it down somewhere? I mean, you
Yeah,
have
yes.
people in the heavy equipment repair,
There's 3 positions in heavy equipment.
okay? Go ahead.
I think there's 7 or 8 in the street department,
Street? 7 or 8, okay?
and I believe there's 7 in the parks department.
Parks, okay.
Recreation is a one-man show.
I'm sorry,
Recreation is a one-man show.
which one is that?
Recreation department.
Recreation, yes.
Recycling is a one-man department.
Recreation 1 and recycling 1.
The staff in the office upstairs is 3, including the engineer.
Those are clerical staff.
Well, there's the city
You
engineer,
have the engineer,
and then there's a administrative assistant,
engineer 1, administrative assistant 1.
yes, and a principal account clerk,
I'm sorry?
and then a principal account clerk.
1.
1.
Okay.
I'm not sure the number.
Okay.
Yeah, inspectional has, I believe, about 21 people there.
Okay, 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 total. Let's see, 10, 18, 20, yeah, 22 total. Okay. 22. Okay, okay. Thank you.
So, after having all questions satisfied by the committee, bless you. Counselor Toomey, you all set?
I'm all set.
After going back and forth and having done all of this, I mean, there is no question as to, I mean, this is for his permanent position here. There's no question as to his ability to be able to conduct what he does, know his job the way that he does, and, I mean, there's enough said. Does anybody have a motion to
I'll
send up
make
to
a
the-
motion to send it up with a positive recommendation.
Any seconds? I do not know why we continue to do this. Especially to,
Sandy,
I'm upset.
We have the
I
right.
am upset right now because this
You
gentleman,
shouldn't
why
be.
is
We
he?
are 4 votes here. You can't
I
force
understand
anybody
that.
to
I'm not
second
forcing
ours.
anybody to do anything. But what I'm saying is that this is an embarrassment.
You are the chair. You should act like the chair.
Oh, what do you think I'm doing here? I'm asking for a motion, which I did.
you want-
And what I am saying is my comment as the chairperson of this committee, that I'm upset that we continue to have him come up here for this. This is belittling somebody that has so much experience and has done so much hard work for this community, for his position, that has gone above and beyond to do anything possible and everything possible, and that this is what, his third time up here in my 4-year tenure here?
Madam Chair, let me explain why I am not seconding the motion. I mentioned before that I have questions that I would like to ask at the city council level, and consequently, I'm reserving those questions at the city council level. Definitely, the committee should send the name up, maybe without a recommendation, pending the other members of the city council may have a lot of questions. So that's the reason why I am not seconding the motion, because I do have questions that I feel is essential that the other council members listens to. And again, I have great things to say about John. I think John has been very cooperative in so many things, so I have nothing to say negative in terms of his performance, okay? But I have some concerns that I have discussed with John on a personal basis that I feel that should be expressed at the city council level.
So if that motion, Roger, go ahead.
We have sent up a number of items up to the city council with a positive recommendation, and the other councilors have dealt at the council level.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We all here agree that John is an excellent worker. He does a fantastic job. There's a few things that some people are pointing out here that I personally think's a bunch of baloney, but
And I agree.
those things can be brought up again at the full council level. But if we send it up with a positive recommendation, it's not mean that everyone up there is going to vote in favor of it. You have an opportunity to present your case, too.
Yes,
But as
of
far as the
course.
four of us here are concerned, we've all said it this evening, this gentleman knows what he's doing. And I think it should go up with a positive recommendation based on those elements. If you have questions that you want to present to him at the full council level, then do it.
Again, I feel more comfortable.
So what are you gonna-
I feel more comfortable sending the position.
Someone makes an emotion to send it up without a recommendation, it's going to sit here?
We have
You
again,
could pass the gavel and second it.
I could do so, and I would, I could,
by
right?
all
I would
means,
like to
yes.
put a motion to send it up without recommendation.
No, there's a motion already in the floor, so you can pass the gavel, yes? You could do that, Madam Chair?
Pass the gavel and second it.
I will pass
So
the
moved.
gavel and second the motion of sending it up with a favorable recommendation. All in favor? Aye.
She's
I'm the one.
I just want to get this moving because I'm like so upset about this, taking up so much time.
There is a
of
motion on the
everyone for nothing.
table
For
to
nothing.
send it up with a favorable recommendation. It was second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No?
No,
Roll call?
I would like to make a motion.
no, you can do the roll call.
Okay. Roll call?
Because you still have the gavel.
Mr. Toomey?
Yes.
Mr. Maldonado? Ms. Monte?
Yes.
And I vote no.
So motion stays, right?
Yes.
And so will there be any other motions on the table?
I would like to make a motion to send it up without recommendation.
And I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
No?
I'm gonna vote yes on that because I want to get it up there. I want to get it up at the
It needs
full
to end up,
council
it
level.
needs to end up
Nine up there.
upstairs.
I think personally it's disgusting the way that happened. And I definitely do not.
Those are
approve
kind
of it.
words. I just want to say. So I guess all in favor, 3 yes and 1 no. So roll call, Counselor Aquino,
Yes.
Counselor Toomey,
Yes.
Counselor Maldonado.
Yes.
And myself votes a no. And I guess the ayes have it.
Is that with,
To send out without to send up to the full council without a recommendation.
That won't take effect until April 15th.
That is correct.
Yes.
There are no other items to be discussed here tonight. I don't know if anybody would like to take anything off of tabled matters, and if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, we asked Mr. Bonet to come down for several reasons.
There was, yes, I believe there was a matter of the evaluation, personal evaluation. Do you want to hold on that, or, Madam Chair? I know you don't feel, you're not feeling.
Yeah, I really wasn't really feeling up to par to take all of this on tonight, but, did you want to discuss that today? Did you want to?
Well, we had talked, the last time we had talked about withdrawing some of these items, and we said, well, we're gonna send for Mr. Bonet to come down and address several of them. And I'm
Because it-
surprised they're not on the agenda.
That's the same thing I was thinking. They're
Isn't
not
that in
on
the old
here.
business?
They are, but they should have been under,
No, these were tabled items.
Which, I don't remember exactly which one.
there were a lot of them. It was,
Staff
City employee
evaluation.
time review process of all employees, that was one. Discussion of personnel issues, employment action forms and other documentations.
On the agenda, the bottom it says, Personnel Director F. Bonet invited to address the 6 above items. So it's the 6 above items
You have a
document.
list of them?
I got them from the
1, 2, 3,
agenda.
4.
Yeah, there were a number of items that he was asked to come so that we could ask questions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, I see it right there, yeah.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4,
5,
5, 6, so
6.
You want to go through this? You don't want to go through this? Okay.
But I don't know, Roger,
Why
it
don't
sounds
you-
like.
May I suggest, Roger, if you don't mind, Councilor Almonte had indicated before the meeting that she was not feeling well, and whether we could table some of these matters
Because
onto
I knew
the
they were
next
gonna
meeting.
take a little long. But,
I don't have,
we
If
could
it is okay
invite,
with
we
you.
could invite Frank to come back.
Do
If
you?
we could, thank you,
Yeah,
Roger.
yes.
And that would also give us a little bit more time and give me a little time to dwell into some of the stuff and get a little more information now that these things are taking the process that they have. I think that, we need to solidify a lot of these, agenda items and get all the proper information.
some of these will be real quick, but on the document 2512, if I can get a little clarification so I can come down prepared. It just says personal information requested. I'm not sure exactly what Council
would be
Bernard's
Counselor
request was. Pretty sure we provided that, but
25, 25,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we don't remember what was it.
yeah, it was Counselor Brunel. But let's,
Can we,
get clarification.
yeah. Probably what we should do is, somebody, maybe you can contact Councilor Bernard so that she will call the personal director and explain what she's looking for.
Will do. Since that was an item agenda that was put on by Counselor Brunel, they have to get specific information from her as to what personal information she was, feeding to. I would entertain a motion to adjourn if no one has any further questions.
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have it, thank you.